Yay! Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond Enough podcast. I am here with another incredible female founder, and she's going to introduce herself in just a second. But I am your host, Amy Irons, and you know that we come here every week to have the most incredible conversations with women going beyond the story they were given and choosing more for themselves, more for their business, more for their life. And so I'm so excited to welcome Nikki today.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you so much. So, everyone, I'm Nikki St, business coach, mentor, good girl slayer. Yes, if you knew about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, this is the new version, the new girls in town, slaying the good girls everywhere up and down the country, up and down the world. Because if we've got big goals, then we need to banish, to slay, to get rid of some of the patterns and behaviors that society, family, culture, whatever has placed upon us so that we can go after our goals and actually enjoy this one wild and incredible life that we have in the best way for us. Do it for the plot.
Do it for the plot. I'm so obsessed with you already. And I know when we met to discuss your podcast episode, we immediately clicked. And I think it is
Yeah.
because we do have this commonality around helping women break down this conditioning, these patterns, and this part of them that doesn't feel good enough, this part that doesn't feel that they can do all these incredible things that women are
Right.
doing and now paving the path for other women. And so I'd love for you to take us back, firstly, I guess, to how this became your life's mission, your life's purpose, not
Mhm.
just, I guess, in business coaching, but really helping women step out from behind that shadow and get rid of,
Mhm.
kick that good girl conditioning to the curb because we don't want it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with so many people's story, Amy, it starts off in childhood. It's kind of who we were. And I think often what happens is who we see ourselves as today without any of this work that we can do is often not who we were actually meant to be. Because if you go back to your sort of youngest self when you were just sort of footloose and fancy free, carefree, didn't care, you were who you were meant to be. And then suddenly people said that was too much, or don't do it that way, and too loud, or whatever, all these different things, too tall, too whatever. And I think when I was growing up here in the UK, for anybody obviously outside of the UK, I went to a school where like I was the only like black girl in the whole school. So I always I stood out just from that perspective anyway.
Yeah,
But I think as a child, you kind of want to blend in. You want to blend in because you want to be in the in crowd. I was never in that crowd, by the way. I tried, but
me
never
neither.
got there. And so even though I stood out visibly, physically, I wanted to blend in. And so the only way that I could do that, and also I was one of the tallest people. I'm very tall. I'm like 5'9". So obviously I wasn't 5'9" as a kid, but I was tall, right? I kind of towered over above my peers. And so I stood out in every possible way. And I had glasses. I had NHS glasses, like the free ones, like not the coolest things at all.
Thing.
I think I had a blue pair, a brown pair, a clear, like I had them all. And so I stood out for all some of the wrong reasons, and obviously some of the reasons that were just me. And I think that my way of fitting in was just to sort of go along with what everybody else was saying, what everybody else was doing, like what everybody else was liking, laugh when actually the joke was on me and not actually with me. And so you just became this person that just like wanted to please everybody, wanted to fit in, wanted not to stand out for the wrong reasons. And so I think it kind of started from there. And it just then continued on as you sort of go through school, go through, university and work environment, and you realize that you just get praised by following the rules, by doing what everybody says, and I think for me, because I wasn't like, and maybe this is a bit of a story, but I was not always the most academically naturally able. I had to work really, really hard for anything. And so it was always about putting in like 100 and flipping 10%, like going at 11 volume, like working myself till I was sick often. And so this perfectionism, this working hard, all these kind of patterns that many women who are running businesses right now will resonate with. And it all stemmed from like, I didn't want to stand out for the wrong reasons, but I also wanted to be like, hey, look at me, like I can do this as well and prove yourself. And so it was all born in those early years and just kind of got rewarded and praised. And I thought, well, that's working. Let me just do more of that. And so that's where it originated from.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I think there will be so many of our listeners who will resonate so deeply with that.
Mhm.
Certainly, my own story is very similar in terms of feeling very other and the various reasons for that. And then, as you say, you get rewarded
Mhm.
for hustling and
Yeah,
for putting in that 110, 120, 150%
yeah.
when no one else is doing that, or not everyone is doing that. And I think this also creates this whole thing of, well, why am I not 110% ahead of everyone else? Like, what's
Hmm.
going on? And
Hmm.
that kind of almost gives you again that layer of there's something wrong with me, I'm not
Yes.
good enough, and really kicks to that internal place of us that actually just wants to feel
Loved.
loved. Yeah.
Right? That's all we all want in the world. Some love and peace. That would be wonderful, please. Please and thank you.
Please and thank you, you know? I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I guess the natural next question is what changed? What changed?
I think it's been, I would say, as I progressed on in my career, I begun to realize that just getting my head down and working really, really hard actually wasn't working out very well for me. And there were people like around me who would just get like these promotions and these things. And I'd be like, what the heck? What's happening? Because I just got told that, like, just get your head down, let your work show for itself, which is the biggest load of crock ever, right? Because you have to shout about what you're doing. You need to share things. You need to brag. You need to celebrate. And I'm now one of the biggest kind of celebrants that ever known to woman and man, right? But I was always like, I'm just going to get my head down. People will notice me. They didn't. They didn't notice me. I got brushed past, walked past, and I guess the point came where I got made redundant. I guess that is a really kind of long story short, but that then got to the point of, what do I want to do? I've been in this corporate world for like almost 2 decades. And I realized that I didn't really want to go back to doing what I was always doing, even though I was really good at it in leadership, marketing, sales roles for like 2 decades. And I was just like, I don't think I really want to do that. And there was something in me, and now I know it's a lot to do with my human design and the way that I work. I was just like, I think I'm going to start my own business. I don't know literally where it came from. It was just like this
Chills.
little, this little bud, or this little embers, this little flame that was like flickering. And I decided to lean in, and thank goodness. And I didn't have a clue what I would be doing. I knew that I'd enjoyed coaching people because I'd had direct reports, I'd managed teams, I'd led cross-functional teams, and I loved like seeing people win. I loved like seeing people's potential. And so I did like coaching diploma. And I also, I think, really for me, followed my heart, which is like anti-good girl. Because it's like good girl says like follow the path, like follow the well-trodden, the tested and proven path. And I was like, no, I think I just want to do what I find fun. So I did a breathwork course, I did a mindfulness course, I did a lot of courses this first year when I got made redundant. So I was just like, I just want to see what I enjoy. And it's just been 3 years of like figuring it out. And now I've gotten to this place where I'm like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do for now. Like I'm also open to like things shifting. And so that's it's just been this journey of like being willing to blaze your own trail. And we can talk about that, but it's the good girl follows the rules, the good girl seeks permission, the good girl blends in, the good girl gets it perfect or tries to and then doesn't go for things. The convicted woman, which is kind of what my brand is all about, is like, no, I'm going to blaze a trail. I'm going to question that rule. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to be messy. I'm going to figure it out. Figure it the feck out is like one of my things I love saying. I'm like, I'm just going to figure it out.
Love that. And do you know the episode that's just gone out? I was talking to Kirian, who has a very, very interesting backstory. If you haven't listened to that episode, everyone go and listen because it's a crazy story. And she has developed her newspaper brand cult, and she very much had this similar message, I guess, around self-leadership and
Mm-hmm.
trusting yourself to take risks. Women are so risk adverse,
Yeah, right.
aren't we?
Yeah. I just like so afraid of failing, so
Yeah.
afraid of looking bad, so afraid of what if somebody says, oh, look at that, she's a loser. And we have got to get over that. If we want to achieve amazing things, we have to be willing to fail. We have to be willing to fail miserably.
And
Um,
visibly.
and like and visibly. And I think we should claim what we want out there. We should say, I want insert big, scary, hairy goal, and be willing to almost like build it in public and be willing to say, oh, I didn't quite make that goal. I think if more people said, I went for this big goal and I didn't quite make it, but here's what I learned and here's what I did do, I think more people would be like, okay, well, it's okay to say it.
I agree. And I obviously work with women on visibility, and this is one of these major blocks, I think, because really when you want to start a business, if you want that business to be successful, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to get out there. Business requires sales, right? In lots,
Sorry, people.
but it requires sales, and that requires visibility. And I
Right.
do think it is so interesting that there is just, and I do think a lot of that is to do with media, as in
Mm-hmm.
traditional media and social media, in terms of it feels like there is not an area of your life where you are not under scrutiny. And so, again, we see the rise of personal brands and influencers, and I think that women feel like so pressured to be perfect in every
Mm-hmm.
area of their life. And again, failing publicly feels really heavy. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like if I F this up, that's it forever. And it's not.
No, it honestly isn't. I think people want, certainly this is the kind of the brand that I want to create for myself, which is to showcase what I'm doing in the moment as much as I can. Obviously, there are things that you don't share. You don't have to share your whole life, and I don't think that you should really. But the bits that you're choosing to share, I think that we should be willing to share the muck ups, the messies, the things, and share from sometimes from the wound and be willing to like show how you're leading yourself through that. Because I think it just allows people to feel like, oh, it's not just me that like has these thoughts or does these things. And then they're more likely to want to be with somebody, a coach, a mentor, a service provider who looks like they actually find things hard and get things wrong. I don't want to work with someone who appears to get everything right. I'm like, how are you going to help me in my madness? Like, how are you going to deal with like my like wild brain? Like, you're just not going to be able to cope, you know?
For sure. I honestly think that as coaches and mentors, it is our job to hold people through the messy shit.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
here, like, don't get me wrong. I love celebrating with my clients. It brings me so much joy to see
right.
other women winning. However,
Yeah,
most of the journey to get them to that place,
it's a tough one.
ugly. And if
Mm,
they don't trust me to get them through their ugly,
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
they're never moving forward because they don't feel
yeah,
safe to fully be honest
yeah.
with you, with themselves. And actually, without that honesty, moving forward's really difficult.
Yeah, 100%, which is why I think we all need to have our own support, right? So I think if I were to see a coach who didn't have a coach, I'd be a little bit concerned. I'd be like, well, what's happening? Like, how are you managing your own things? So I think it's just important. It's just a doctors have doctors, dentists have dentists, coaches should have coaches really to get their own support and grow.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. I think we're all on different journeys at different stages, different phases, different seasons. But that doesn't mean that any of us have it all figured out all of the
No,
time. And I,
no.
again, do think that calls to, a lot of women really struggle with that good girl conditioning, with that I have to be perfect in every way,
Hmm.
when that's not true. That's not true. You can serve your clients at such a high level, even if you're going through something personally, like a doctor will still
Hmm.
have personal issues,
Yeah.
but
I'm sure
still
they
shows
probably
up.
have health issues as well. Like we just don't know about them. They don't need to share them with us when we sit down to talk to. But I think I think it just allows you to be that kind of human leader, art led leader, not some robot who just wants to put on a facade, which is just actually quite exhausting and tiring of trying to pretend to be something that you're not. It's hard for content and selling because you're just making it up all the whole time. Whereas if it's just naturally like as it relates to conviction and slaying the good girl and all of the things that all of her shenanigans that she gets up to, if I allow her to, that's just like how things are for me. I don't have to make it up. I don't have to think about it. It's just the mission I'm on to like be the most convicted, the most like Delulu version of myself. Like that's just how I am. It's not difficult for me.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think we should all be a little bit delulu about our dreams.
I think if they seem too realistic, they're really not dreams. I'm like, if you can literally go, well, if I do A, B, C, and D and it's going to work out, I'm like, that's not a dream. That's just like a little action plan. That's all that is. That's not a dream. That's not. You need something that you're like, I don't actually know how this is going to work. This is slightly. This is making me feel slightly on edge, or even massively on edge. Whatever. I think we need to have those.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think those are the things that propel you into a
Right.
life that you could not even imagine. And I do think this is a lot of, and again, you can give me your thoughts here because this is your entire piece of work is really helping women push out of this conditioning. But
Mm-hmm.
with that conditioning comes a cap on what you believe is possible. And I think once you
Yeah.
start to realize that, you can start to welcome in opportunities that otherwise would have you would have been completely blind to. I'd
Yeah.
really,
100%.
yeah, I really try and encourage women to go, once we push you just forward just a little bit out of your comfort zone, you'll start to see that
Mm-hmm.
the world is so different to the
Mm-hmm.
one that you've been conditioned to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a couple of things that come to mind around that. One is about stories when, and storytelling is great. Like we're telling stories now. We grew up on stories. Like we enjoy watching stories, but there are some stories that are pretty insidious. The stories that live in our head, the stories that actually guide our actions, our decisions, our feelings, the things that we count ourselves out of. Like those are the stories that I think we need to pay attention to. And that is essentially the work I do around being so locked in and clocked into actually what is at play here. So when something happens in our external reality, like something doesn't go well, a launch doesn't go well, a client defaults, a client complains, life's outside the business altogether, it's actually not the circumstance, it's the story that you attach, the meaning that you make to it, and how you choose to see that that will actually determine what happens next. Because there's so many examples of people who've got the exact same situation. Like we're not comparing apples with pears here, we're comparing apples with apples. Like some people can have the exact same situation. Like some people could be, let's just say you are launching an offer and it's been 10 days and maybe you've had 5 people that have signed up to your freebie or your low ticket offer, and you've got person A, same 5 people signed up, person B, same 5 people. They could just literally view that exact same situation in completely different ways of like, oh my goodness, 5 people, like they've signed up, like this is going to be amazing, I'm going to change their lives, it's going to be absolutely wonderful, like, and they're like literally gunning for sharing and supporting those 5 people and still excited to welcome more in. The other person's like, oh my god, 10 days I've been like selling my bloody, I've been doing all the things and only 5 people. Like, what does this mean? Like, I've heard that the conversion rate is 2%. So that means I'm not going to get anyone because there's only 5 people and da da da. And it's like this downward spiral of like how it's not going to work out. And you've done all the things. And I get that's very extreme and it isn't always like that black and white. But my point is that it's like, what are we choosing to focus on? What are we making it mean? And how are some of the ways that we've survived and been kept safe in the past, how are they now still like running our business behind, like without us even being aware? And that's like when you can really become aware of that and intentionally move in the opposite direction, that's when you can be so powerful, so unstoppable, so nothing can like stop you, because you're like, well, I see that story and I raise you one. Like I see what's happening right there. And like I'll give you an example, like literally from last week. In fact, anyone, I don't know when this will be airing, but there's a story, there's a post on my feed where I talked about things that the good girl tried to sell me last week that I threw straight in the bin. Like she literally came in and I was running a mini mind, and there were thoughts in my head of like, everybody knows what I'm talking about, like it's basic AF. Or I said things like, oh, it's too soon to talk about my mastermind, like it's people will think I'm being salesy. Or what if nobody joins the Zoom call? Oh my god, what if everybody joins the Zoom call? Or I was really like, oh, the chat's really quiet, everybody's hating it. The chat's really busy, what if people get annoyed and leave? Like literally like all these thoughts. But when you can clock them, you'll be like, hang on a minute, like where are the facts in this? What's the evidence in this? Is this serving me to think this way? Or is this not? And I can choose the opposite direction, even if it's so uncomfortable.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's such a incredible tip to share here because thoughts come from these patterns, they come from these beliefs that we've, like you say, like you shared, have come from a very young age where we formulated our opinion of ourselves and the world around
Mm-hmm.
us. But the way that we undo that isn't always like these big, huge breakthroughs at a retreat in Bali. Actually, it's being able to catch the thought when it happens and
Yeah.
reverse engineering it
Mm-hmm.
to change the behavior you would have taken or the actual time in your mind, like that energy and time that you're spending self-sabotaging in a crisis
Right.
that is of your own making. But it's that simple. Yeah,
100%. And I think it's an action thing.
yeah.
I think we intellectualize too much. We
Agreed.
sit
I
there
love how
and we're
you've said
like,
that.
it's just like, I'm not against sitting there and like reframing the mind and working it all out and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, just do the thing. Give your nervous system no other reason than to come on board, than to get on the train. We're going this way, come what may. And it's almost like the shock to the system. And obviously, this is not for everyone. This is not for everyone. My work is not for everyone, but it's worked. It works because the nervous system's job is just to keep you safe and alive and to protect you. Its job isn't that you scale your company. It doesn't really give a rat's ass about that. And so if you want to do that, then you have to go against it. You have to almost widen this parameter of what it deems to be safe with
That's
your
exactly
actions.
100%. It's expansion of your capacity
Yeah,
when it
that's
comes
it.
to the nervous system. 100%. And I thank you again for bringing that up because I think it's so important. And there's so much misinformation
Mm-hmm.
about nervous system regulation and what that
Yeah.
means.
It's
The
not about
other,
being calm all the time. Please, not. It's not. Sorry.
that's the good girl.
Yes. It's like if you're comfortable all day, every day, like we need to have a conversation.
You
We
need
need
to
to have an
message Nikki on
intervention.
Instagram.
You need to have an intervention. It's like if you want to like go places, if you want to meet these juicy goals that you've set on your vision board, comfort is just not your friend. Like go back to points of comfort for periods to like to
Of
feel
course.
okay and have those periods where it feels good and easy breezy. But we need to then move out of that and into I constantly feel like I don't know what I'm doing. That is like that's when I know that I'm onto something. I'm like, yep, I have no idea how this is going to work out. I have no idea. Like, and I'm like, yes, it's working.
Yeah, but like you say, you've expanded your nervous system's
Yeah.
ability to cope in that
Yeah.
messy middle. And I think that is so important. I think there is this preconception that you either have to be completely terrified and dysregulated and causing absolute havoc, or you're safe and secure and nothing's changing. But there is a
Mm-hmm.
middle ground where you can
100%.
really expand your nervous system in a way that is safe, in a way that you are ready for, as you said, right? Like you've
Mm.
got to be ready, you've got to want it because it
Yeah.
is difficult to break patterns. It is difficult to use your voice
Yeah.
when your whole life you've been
Oh,
suppressing it. These are not
100%.
easy. Yeah, it's
And
hard.
I think you do have to want it. I like that you mentioned that, Amy, because a lot of people say, I'm doing all the things. They're not. They're
Oh,
just not. They're not, and they actually don't really want to.
mhm.
When given the opportunity to do the exact all the things that will work for a sustained period of time, even when it looks like it's not working at all, they won't do it. So they don't want to do all the things. They want to get the end without the doing all the things. And it just doesn't work that way. And the work I do is actually getting the foundations, getting comfortable doing the basic, Billy basic things that people think are maybe a bit boring, but they are the things that move the needle in your business. And they are the things that people go, I did it for a week or 2 weeks, it only didn't work. I'm like, come back to when you've done it for like 7, 8 months, because
I love
that's what it takes. And I've had to learn that the hard way. I did not always get that. I did not always get it. I was very victim mode. I was very like, well, it's not working. I invested in this mentor and she, I haven't got my ROI back. It's like if anyone comes to me, it's like, when am I going to get my money back? I immediately know that they're not the right person because
yeah.
you're not thinking about it in the right way.
I agree. And again, thank you for highlighting that because I think, again, this is perpetuated in the online space that you join a program and that within 3 weeks you're selling, 5, 10, 15K months. And don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
of course that's possible, but you find a lot of
Mhm.
people who are doing that have had an established business for 10 years.
Is
Up to
it. This is
it.
it. Like, honestly, like, no shade. Sometimes somebody will come to you as a client, or you are the client. You've been literally busting things for 4 or 5 years beforehand. Nothing appears to be clicking. You get in this space and it clicks. It's not that it just clicked then, it was all the stuff beforehand. And so that's why sometimes it's really important. If you're in a space and it looks like somebody's flying and you're not, you don't know where they've come from, all the things that which they're not sharing with you now. Chances are 9 times out of 10, they have been exactly where you are. They've probably just forgotten about it because it just feels so, you know, far in the distant past. But which is why I just think it's important to speak about it.
Yeah. And you're here and you're speaking about it. And I'm so grateful that you are because I do think that even out with business, we are so conditioned to be good. And I
Mm-hmm,
think in the world that we live in now, we have an opportunity to really not just break down our career and start
mm-hmm,
an entrepreneurial journey, but to really change the way we live, the way that what
mm-hmm.
we expect from life as well, and start to
Yeah,
actually say, I want more. And I think we
yeah,
have the ability to do that now more than ever. And that's an
yeah.
exciting time to be alive, I think.
So exciting. It's so exciting to be alive. And I think if you've been in the corporate world, if you're running a business and you are now and you've been in a career, in an employed position before, it does take some time to get used to. Sometimes you think you've got it, but then you actually realize you haven't. And like literally last week, no word of a lie, I had such a fun week in my business and it felt very weird to me.
Yes.
Work out like what was happening. And I felt really, it was strange that I was like, it was my mum's birthday and I went to visit her and I spent the afternoon there and I got cake and flowers and I was like wandering around shopping in the afternoon. And I think I went to the gym like 3 times and I went to see my friend. I went on a little road trip to see my friend on a Friday afternoon and we were like eating Wagamamas on Friday. Obviously, this is not sponsored by them, but just saying it was delicious. I was like, what is this life? Like, what? Like, there are so many things I'm yet to do. There are so many things that
Of
I'm
course.
still working on. Like, I've not got it all covered. But the fact that I just had this ability to do things that I was enjoying and like having this conversation, and I'm about to go on a call with my client and I'm actually excited because I remember a time when I would actually be really nervous about, would I get it right? Would I be able to answer all her questions? Would I be able to save her, which is actually not my job? And once I really released that, I'm like, I can just show up in service. And that's that's just absolutely wonderful. Like it's been a real epiphany, but it takes time. And the good girl will say, well, the rules are that you should be at your desk. You should be at your desk, head down, 8 hours a day, because that's what you've always done. And then you'll feel guilty. And then you'll do stuff because you should do it, not because you actually want to. And that's not cool.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that. And I couldn't agree more. And I think when I reflect back on the various stages and seasons of my business, my most profitable months are always the ones where I'm out having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, every single time. And I think, again, to your point, have a look at that conditioning. Like, where are
Mm-hmm.
you putting that story on yourself
Right.
where you have to be, doing business a certain way or looking a certain way or speaking a
Yeah.
certain way, when in actual
Mm-hmm.
fact, this can be such a liberating form of
If you
self-expression.
allow it to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, give us your last takeaway on breaking down that good girl conditioning for our listeners. What's that one thing where you're like, start here and start to
Yeah.
blast her away because we don't want her anymore?
Yeah, so I think thanks for that because I realised we've just been chatting and I could just
So,
keep on going. Something I probably should have said, but anyway, something that I'm saying now is the way that I like to see the good girl is she has 5 faces. She's like 5-faced, right? She's not just 2-faced, she's 5-faced. And you may find that there's one of her faces or two of her faces that's kind of more your Achilles heel. the thing that you suffer with or deal with the most. And with each of the five faces, there is an empowered alter ego, a convicted version of that woman. And that's who you're looking to become. So, for instance, you've got the permission seeker, the one who seeks permission for everything, doubts herself, thinks everybody else knows more than her, always following the rules without questioning them. The opposite to that is the trailblazer, the one who questions the rules, who blazes her own trail, who does business and life her own way. Like that's what you're. So you're not kind of, let's not be the permission seeker. No, let's be more trailblazer. How can I blaze a trail? Now, this trail may be a big trail to change the world. It could be a really small thing. It could be something so tiny. It could be like, everybody's telling me that I should do a membership. I don't want to do a membership. I want to do a whatever, VIP day. I'm just going to do things my own way in my business. Or I want to have calls only on, every other week for my clients. So that's what I'm going to do. The other good girl type is the chameleon. This is the one who blends in. You can literally
Yes.
barely see her because she's just like everybody else, like all the other business coaches, all the other mindset coaches, like no different. The opposite to that is the siren. Stand out, be bright, be who you are. Don't be loud if you're not loud. Don't swear if you don't swear. But if you swear, swear like a trooper. Do what you want to do. And then the perfectionist. The opposite to the perfectionist, obviously the perfectionist is like, got to get it right, got to know all the steps, got to have everything figured out. So then you don't really do that much. You don't take a lot of action. Or when you do, it's very heightened and stressed. The opposite to that is the visionary. It's like, I see the vision, I know the next step, and I'm willing to figure it out along the way. And then the other, I'll try and kind of move a little bit quickly, but the fourth one is the superwoman. This is the one who's like, you know what, I've got to do it all. I've got to have it all figured out. I've got to be the one who like does everything for everyone, always kind of solving, almost like a martyrdom sort of feeling, really. And then the other one is the overachiever, the one which I think is actually linked a lot to this podcast. This is the one who, no matter what milestone you set yourself and you achieve it, you're constantly raising the bar. You never feel enough. You always feel behind all the time and you never ever celebrate. Whereas, like, okay, if you can be the opposite, that I'm going to be the icon. I know that my worth is not linked to my work, my outputs, it's separate. So this is the work we do in my world. We really get to know like what's most alive and true for you. And what's the thing that if you move to that empowered version that you would literally be unstoppable. And for some people, that's perfectionism. For some, that's permission seeking, people pleasing. But it's just really getting to know how they show up in not just your selling, your content, but your marketing, your business decisions, your pricing, your boundaries. Like, so this is what I do in my mastermind. We literally like rip things apart and go like, where do you think that things are working tickety boo? And where are they actually not? And how can we shape things so that your clients get better results, they stay with you, they want to work with you, and you love like your work.
Yes, yes, yes to all of that. I'm obsessed, and they relate so closely to the visibility wounds that I talk about. And this is why we're so aligned. And this is why I immediately
Right.
yes, because and I again, especially being an overachiever, a perfectionist, this is what I hear from women every single day. And then
Mm-hmm.
you look at your business, and like you say, you take a look back and or you look at your client's business and you say, you're actually not doing the things that you think you're doing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of this overarching,
Yeah.
real struggle. And that's not to minimize the struggle. It is real. But like you say, in order to break those patterns, in order to move forward, you do have to do differently and
You
expand your
have to.
capacity for it.
It's
And
action first, and
yeah,
then it's just really working on your conviction, and your conviction being an inside job,
yeah,
something that isn't circumstantial, something that doesn't change with the wind or the seasons or your bank balance. It's like you are convicted, and it's something that literally can be felt through the screen. It's an energy that you can literally just can
yes,
feel. Like you can tell that I love what I'm doing. It's like I don't even need to pretend it. People say it to me all the time. They're like, "Oh my goodness, your energy." But if I was talking about something which I didn't really enjoy, I wouldn't be able to like fake it in this way. It would be very hard for me to do it.
no,
So that's
it's
that's the work I do. Become the convicted woman. Like become so convicted that like it doesn't matter what's happening. Like your success is inevitable.
yes, 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 yes. I love it. And just incredible. Thank you so much for sharing so
Welcome.
much value
Had
with
so
us
much
today.
fun.
It's so fun,
I love
right?
chatting. I love it. Like, I was told off at school for this. I was told, like, will someone do something with that child? She won't stop talking. And here I am talking and loving and getting paid to do it. So, like, yeah, what have you got to say, Mrs. Ruff?
Right? Mrs. Ruff. We hear that so much from
Yeah, I was so
especially the women
chatty.
around me, right?
Yeah,
And so many of them have said, oh gosh, at school, like I
yeah,
never fit in. I got told off all the time for
yeah,
talking. And
yeah,
now we're all making a career out of it. And I'm obsessed with that for us.
yeah. I know, I love it. I love it. Bring it on.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It has been such a joy to hear from you and your story and everything that you're doing for women. I will link everything for Nikki down below this episode in the show notes. Please do go and connect with her. Go and see what she's up to on her corner of the internet and just go and soak up her energy because honestly, having women around you with this energy, with this conviction, with this drive, but also kindness and compassion will change your life. And I mean that 100%. It does.
Thank you. It's been lovely to be in your aura as well. Yeah.
I honestly, thank you so, so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Yeah, give me a follow. Let's connect. Let's have a conversation.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, we shall see you in the next episode. Bye.